Can I be honest and encourage you with something? Reality is the people that you are currently aspiring to be have made hundreds, if not thousands of mistakes. And that is honestly what makes them great at what they do. This is my friend Eldon, who has a decade of Power Platform experience, is a director and a seasoned Power Platform solution architect. We discuss the lessons that he has learned that has allowed him to grow his career to a point where he now works for himself. This conversation brings a whole new meaning to the saying, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Let's go. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Power Talks. Thank you for being here. My name is Griffin, the host of the Citizen Developer channel and Power Talks podcast. And today I'm joined by a special guest, Eldon Wow, I practice it so much. Chinyamakobvu. I'm so sorry. I know you told me not to try, but I'm like, names are important. I want to be respectful of everyone's name and try to say it. Eldon, well, sweet man, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for this conversation. Something I want to start us out, though, is really big, vague topic, and that is mistakes and learning from them. How have mistakes in your career contributed to your development as a solution architect? And I'm hoping you got a couple good stories here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've got a lot of war wounds, as anybody who's worked in this arena normally does. I think at the time when a mistake happens, you just get hit with this power of anxiety that just comes over you. And you just think to yourself, oh my days, I just want to go into a hole and never come back from it because it's just absolutely horrible. There's a couple ones that I've had, some examples. So I once did a migration of some data from one environment to another into this was using Dataverse. But little did I know that one of the flows that I had was every time a new item is added, it then runs off emails in the background. So I ended up sending something like 2,000 emails in about 30 seconds because of the amount of data that was coming in. And, you just feel like you're panicking and everything's coming to an end. And at the time, you're just like, I'm not going to get over this. It's the worst thing that's happened to me, and I just don't know what to do. But these lessons have taught me kind of a lot of things. For that one especially, I learned just, go into your solution, double check that everything is turned off that's meant to be turned off. Even if the flows you think, oh, it's not going to have an impact, just turn it off just to be safe. It's probably the best thing you can do. And also, I think I made a terrible mistake of doing a migration on a Friday, which, as everyone knows in the industry, you do things either on a Monday, Tuesday, or a Wednesday. You don't do things on a Thursday or Friday because it's going to ruin your weekend. So that was just a terrible one. And, the organization I was working for at the time, they thought they were getting hacked, but luckily they saw that it was my account doing the activity, and they were able to then look back and say, yeah, we did know that there was a migration going ahead at this time. So it's one of those things where, mistakes are part of it, and you really have to get to a place where you can forgive yourself and just say, you know what, I've made a mistake, and put your hands up, because the worst thing that you can do is to hide, and then there's an investigation done, and they find out it was your account anyway. So put your hands up and just say, you know what, I've made a mistake, I didn't see that come in, and just apologize, really, to be honest, to the team and everyone. But these mistakes have really helped me to really start to consider things in my career, even the little things, like talking about never put something out on a Friday, always turn things off. These are little things that now have put me in a place where I'm just better for it. You're just better at advising junior staff and also advising your team as well, to just say, we don't do this X, Y, Z, and give like really good reasons and valid real life stories. So yeah, trauma makes you strong in this game.
Definitely. And you're totally right in that something that's encouraging to me is like when I think about, experts in the industry and say, for the sake of an example, let's say my goal is to be an expert in the Power Platform, right? Like those people are only experts because they learned by trials through the fire, right?
Yep.
Of making those mistakes to learn the little quirks and nuances and little gotchas about the Power Platform because they made those mistakes at one point. And so that's something I try to encourage myself is like, look, if I want to be an expert, I'm going to have to make 100 mistakes, say for example. And okay, now I only have to make 99. Now I only have to make 98, right? And so it's just I think that's really important to remember because you're totally right. Like it's just the simple nature of the game, but we also don't want to whether it's we don't want to let ourselves down or let our teammates down or whatever. And I mean, I talk about too, like we're expensive resources a lot of times at the end of the day. So it's
Mhm.
like you don't want to have to mention that you didn't do a good job. I have a funny story. So when I was first learning the Power Platform, I was like within the first 2-3 months of like even knowing what Dynamics was, and I did not understand like solutions or anything. And I was working on this like complete super low stakes internal project. Like it was not with a client, it was not with whatever. Um, but I was in the Power Apps Maker portal, and we were doing some like testing, and I thought I was in our QA environment. And so I was removing the solutions in the QA environment because we needed to remove them, whatever. That was the thing. Well, what I didn't realize is after I removed the first one, the Maker portal refreshed and put me in the dev environment.
Oh no.
So then I started deleting the solutions in the dev environment. And we're like sitting here at this meeting. I was kind of multitasking, whatever. And I've never felt so much panic and anxiety in my life. I like straight up almost had a panic attack. So much so that the person next to me was like, "Hey, are you good? Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
whatever." I was like, I'm fine, whatever. Little did I know, when you delete a solution, it doesn't actually delete the components. You just have to go and find them and put them all back in the solution. So like it actually was only like an extra 30 minutes, 2 hours of work maybe. But I had so much panic in that moment of like I just deleted the last month of work of all of us beginners. Now I'm gonna have to tell my whole team we're gonna have to rebuild it, like whatever. But so I can remember that, and now I'm not gonna make that mistake again. But it's just, I don't know. It's funny. That's my own personal story. When I think about mistakes, that one haunts me.
Yeah.
When was when was the last time you were uncomfortable? Like, is there a recent example of maybe a mistake or a time where you felt really uncomfortable and stretched and grown at work?
I think, yeah, absolutely. You're always uncomfortable when you work in the Power Platform because we have so many new things that are coming out. Like as an example at the moment, the chatbots are going off left, right, and center, and those are excited. So you're always feeling uncomfortable to give them out as a solution. So for me, I think the recent examples is just anything that's new or in preview. I feel so uncomfortable to release it out to the client because you're like, this could work really well today, but tomorrow, Microsoft would just decide to drop it, and then after that, change kind of, the requirements of it or the way that it works. So, I've had many projects where, the clients really want to be ahead of the curve, and also I want to make my life easy because something new has come out. It means I don't have to program it in; I can just use it. So those moments make me super uncomfortable to just be like, I'm going to release this. It's in preview, and I'm just going to use it for the client. But one thing which I've really, kind of gives me comfort in those moments is just knowing that, I have the skill set to be able to overcome it. Or you can, communicate to the client to just say, you know what, we brought this out in preview, but Microsoft have decided to drop it. We just kind of need to track back and change back. So it's I think being uncomfortable, I now welcome it more the more I go in my career because I just wanna be ahead of the curve, and I just wanna learn and bring out things that are really cool and really inspiring for the clients, and making sure that they're getting value for money rather than them getting something that's quite back day. So for anyone who's feeling that uncomfortability, I say just embrace it, go with it, and really, really learn from it as well. Because every time you're uncomfortable, my general belief is every time you're learning something new. If you get to a point where you're comfortable with everything that you're doing, then you probably need to move on to a new challenge. And my philosophy, especially being a consultant, was every role that I did, I've never done it before, but I always aim to succeed at that new thing that I'm taking on. Whether that's be doing a bit of development or doing a sale with a client or managing a team sort of thing. Is I've all done it all for the first time and it was uncomfortable, but just give yourself that kind of confidence to say, I can do it. I can actually get through it after number of times of, again, going back to what we said, number of times of me making those mistakes will definitely get me to a place where I'm super comfortable. So yeah, new technology does make me uncomfortable, but I'm gonna keep pushing it because
Yeah,
you miss out on the goodies if you don't.
definitely. And I mean that's a great point. I guess I didn't think about when I was asking that question, is the fact that the technology is changing so much all the time. And I guess maybe with a recency bias, it feels like it's changing an incredible amount right now.
Yep.
Just how how at the same time, like, we have to be proposing solutions and things that we maybe haven't necessarily worked with yet, you know. And I can remember as well. Last fall, I was working on. We were building a Copilot Studio agent. They wanted a custom agent, and this was like within the same, like, it was like within a couple months of Copilot Studio being announced. Like, it was like so new, so limited. There was no documentation from Microsoft. MVPs hadn't gotten their hands on it yet, so there were no YouTube tutorials or anything out there. And it was just like me and my architect at the time. It was like, all right, how do we figure this out? How do we? Why isn't it working? I don't know. So definitely some longer evenings, but like, but it definitely, yeah, it really does push you to grow. And I think that, yeah, like kind of the thing we were saying earlier, like it just takes learning opportunities to become an expert, you know. And so I think that's really insightful. You mentioned something though, like the being agile or being flexible. Like, how has being flexible in both the technical skills and the people skills like really helped support your career? Like, why is being agile so important, right? Like, why is being able to bounce around, I guess, so valuable to you?
Yeah, I think for me, probably like a lot of people that are probably listening right now, I easily get bored of the same thing over and over and over again. I need stimulants of like new things, new challenges, because for me, the way I've treated my career is, I want to be able to look back and be like, oh my days, do you remember when I did that thing and that was like awesome? It saved like loads of people, loads of time, and it was just like really exciting. And the flexibility has really offered me a chance for me to stretch myself. When I started out, I was just a SharePoint consultant, really. And then I moved into Power Apps and then Power Automate and then Power BI. And with all these opportunities, you start to see that there's different things that are available within the Microsoft stack in particular and how they can all bring together. So for me, when I get billed out to clients or when I'm talking to clients, I'm able to see the bigger picture. And help them really think about what the solution they're trying to get to. And that flexibility has really allowed me to be the good voice in the room when people are talking about solutions, to really come up and say, okay guys, yeah, we want to build a power up, but have you thought about how we're displaying the data or how we're automating it? And what you find is you become super valuable, especially for within your career or if you're self-employed, because then at that point, people, they just know that they can pivot you into different projects and you can continue to offer value. So, especially in this economy where unfortunately a lot of people are being made redundant and people are losing their jobs left, right, and center, you really have to be versatile and just keep moving and keep changing, because AI is changing our world, and not only our world, but also just how Power Platform works. So you've got to keep finding new niches and new ways for you to be able to do it. And I feel that, being able to communicate, especially with non-technical colleagues, is so important, because at the end of the day, they're the people that are going to use the solutions that you're going to be working on. So you need to work on those communication skills. If anything, the communication skills are more important, in my opinion, because we've got a lot of MVPs in the community that offer you a lot of the wealth of knowledge that you might be missing. So I myself, I've had a lot of times where I'm working on a project and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've never done this before. A simple one would have been, I think a couple of years ago, was learning how to upload attachments in using a Power App. Obviously, there's no native way to do it. And just going on YouTube and finding, Raza Durrani had a video on it, and there was a blog on it that I could easily follow. So it means the technical side of it, the community has you covered, but it's the people side of it that you kind of need to, to shine, where you can talk to someone and really understand what they want and understand how you can deliver something that's quite perfect. With Power Platform being so open-ended in terms of, the customization, it then comes down to how well you've understood what the customer want and how well you've spoken to them about it. And in growth of your career, you will need to manage people. You will need to manage expectations with clients, and you've got to be able to do both. So being able to understand, we've all had this where your manager says, "Oh, you just build me an app that's a form, and I'm collecting attachments. That should take you about 10 minutes." Being able to communicate, knowing the technical side, you can say, "Well, no, it's not going to take 10 minutes. It's going to take a little while because there's this needs to kind of come together." So you find that you're a more complete person, and I just really urge everyone to just make sure that your communication skills are just as good as your technical, because it puts you in a perfect spot for you to be able to line things up as well.
Yeah. I think especially with beginners, it can be really easy to feel intimidated by the
Mhm.
tech. Um, but I think like as I've continued to learn more and more, just in talking to more and more people, people know the tech less and less. They just know how to find the answers to solving the tech questions. But
Absolutely.
what they're really good at are the communication things that you're talking about. Like
Hmm.
the really good consultants and architects and people in the industry are the people that can speak the technical language and the non-technical language. Because at the end of the day, this is kind of a lesson I'm learning as well. As you know, for the first couple years, I was like, I just need to learn all the tech, and I'm very thankful that I learned a lot of it,
Hmm.
but like it's more and more like these business decision makers don't care about the difference between a Power Automate flow and a classic workflow. Like they
Yeah.
don't care about that stuff. They care about how is this going to save my organization time and
Yeah.
money, and so that people can do more important stuff. And so like really understanding the people that can communicate those things, the people that can like cast the vision, the people
Hmm.
that can explain, hey, you just spent X amount of dollars with us to build this stuff. Here's how it's going to benefit you and the return you're going to have. Like the people who are really good at that are the people who are really good at what they do, you know?
Yeah.
And they just, I totally agree in that the community is phenomenal in that you have any question, you can find a blog post somehow or a community forum or a YouTube video that is somehow related to that thing you're wondering. Like it is, there is enough stuff out there. Um, and so like I totally agree. I had heard as well. I was like great good consultants are good Googlers. You know, I was like
Yeah.
that's funny, and I think there's some truth in that. And at least in my experience, I don't know if you felt this way.
Hmm.
um, I've even felt it too, where I'm like sitting here and I'm like, oh my goodness, this actually just happened to me recently. I was trying to build a PowerFX column, and I basically needed an if statement that was like, if this, make the value this, and if this, make the value this. And I couldn't figure it out, whatever. And I Googled it, and I had forgotten I had written my own blog post on how to do it last time I did it because
Yeah.
I knew I would forget how to do this, so I built it for myself. And sure, it was like the first thing I was like, "Oh my goodness, yes, that's right, I've done this before." So
Yeah.
I don't know, just a perfect example. It happens to us all, right? Like of being there. Have you ever been there? Have you ever had something like that?
Yeah, no, honestly, I've been there loads where you're forgetting just the basics. You're like, oh, I forgot to do that, and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember, a Teams message
Yeah.
that pinged off to another person that showed them exactly how to do this, and you copy your own work, and it goes back to just, there's a lot of knowledge out there, and you can't remember all of it, but the best people are the people that are able to quickly get to the answer, in whatever way that is. So now we've got obviously AI prompting, and also you've got Googling. So whichever way you want to get to the answer, you get to it. And you just have to, remember that it's the technical side is wonderful, but people buy from people, in terms of like, even buying in, either, purchasing your services or actually purchasing the thing that you've created. Because at the end of the day, as much as all consultants, we don't want to admit it, we are salespeople at the end of the day. When you develop something, you want everyone to be using it and everyone to be saying, oh my days, we want to have, Griffin back. We want to have Eldon back, to continue to do that work. So you've got to be able to sell the vision, sell the benefits of, why Power Platform is so important. And it's not just the technical side of it as well. So I completely agree with you. And I've loved the community. I think especially the increase in number of people that are just doing videos. Because I don't know about you, but I'm a visual learner. So the fact that I see somebody building a video from step by step, or even Matthew's blog that he's got, where he's got step by step screenshots, like for me, that's just wonderful because it means I'm able to build something that probably would have taken me 2 days in like 30 minutes of just following that blog. So yeah, it's very nice to have the power that we have of the community and how everyone communicates those ideas as well.
If you are liking the conversation, be sure to let me know by liking the video and commenting down below what it is specifically you are getting out of it. And if you are interested in learning more about the Microsoft Power Platform, you're going to want to click on the first link down in the description down below to get access to a beginner's Power Platform guide led by me. This is a completely free, self-paced course that has hand-picked knowledge, everything that you need to know to be able to go and get your first Microsoft certification as soon as possible. The reality is not a lot of people can say they love what they do. And I feel very blessed to be able to say that I enjoy what I do for work as a Microsoft consultant. And if you want to start that journey alongside me today, be sure to follow and click on the first link down in the description down below. Now let's get back to the conversation. I that's enough said. Honestly, I could throw in more, but yeah, I totally agree. The
Yeah.
community is phenomenal. What what kind of initially drew you to the Power Platform and business automation? You had mentioned that that's kind of where your journey had started before we started recording. Like, I want to hear more about Mr. Eldon Chinyamakobvu's story here,
Yeah.
and how you got introduced and to kind of how you were where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my story and my career is coincidence and luck, is what I would say. And I know for a lot of people that's probably not helpful, but it really is. So, the typical route in the UK, obviously you do your college and then you go to university. I know in America college is university, but anyway, here there's an extra step, I guess. So, you go to university. So I did computer science in the background. So doing computer science for me, one thing which I really loved about it, it opened my eyes to what is possible. So what I liked and what I didn't like. But one thing which I always knew in a group project, I was definitely the last one to put my hand up to say I want to do some programming. Looking at that C sharp and all of that stuff. That just wasn't my cup of tea for whatever reason. I think especially the stress that comes with it. Like trying to find where a semicolon is missing so that way your entire program can work. That was just too much headache to deal with. So finished university, and then I was just on the look for a job. Found a job that was SharePoint consultancy. And what I loved about that is it allowed me to build SharePoint sites, but then also do the consultancy side of it. So talking to people, you just notice how wonderful you can be, really, when, somebody has a need for your skills and then you're talking to them and bringing their vision alive and getting them to impress their managers to say, oh, by the way, I built this with Eldon and look how amazing it is. Like that feeling for me is something which I live for every day. So that's where I really got the passion behind it to say, I want to be able to solve problems with, Microsoft technology. But then at the time when I was doing SharePoint sites, that's when Power Automate was becoming a thing. Around that time, where we're moving away from classic workflows more to modern, in terms of like Power Automate. So I just got excited by it, and I remember the first thing that I built with Power Automate was the ability for me to read the weather and on a internet site to then be able to change the picture to either a sunny, a snowy one, a rainy one, depending. So that way we could communicate to our colleagues to say whether they should come in to work with an umbrella or not. And I know that example is really stupid and really silly, but it's just the fascination of spending 2 days on something like that, being able to do it and seeing all the possibilities really hooked me in. So I did 3 years at that organization. Then I decided to leave to go to a bigger organization where they were at the start of the journey where they were saying, you know what, we want to start getting into Power Apps and Power Platform as in general, start selling it to our clients because we see the benefits. So I was able to spearhead that growth. So teaching people about how to build their own app within 3 hours, teaching people how to use Power Automate and Power BI. And what I saw from that was just, a lot of times where you teach someone, using an example that's like irrelevant, but then you get them thinking and then they come back, they're like, oh, for my client, I was able to suggest this and now that saved them, X amount of hours. And now we've got extra business from that. That is just so rewarding for me. So I then, started to have passion for teaching other people and then also upskilling myself as well and bringing that towards that as well. So that just that experience was just amazing because you start to see that what Microsoft say is not just a marketing tagline, that really anybody can pick this up and anybody can do it. They just need the right teacher, the right example, and the right conditions for them to be able to really learn that. So I was able to bring that to them, and it was just an incredible. So having done that for a couple of years, I then decided it's time for me to go self-employed and just be on my own. And the self-employed drive is really similar to the drive within my career where you're helping others. Because I just noticed that medium companies were just not using Power Platform. They would have a license, but they wouldn't use it at all because for them, they'll just think, oh yeah, we can buy something off the shelf. We can buy, instead of building a CRM, we can get HubSpot and pay an extra license and do that. But the problem with that is it doesn't fully fulfill the function of what they want. And even if they wanted to, they then have to pay, extra on top of that to fulfill even half of it, and the rest of the other features they don't need them. So that's kind of the passion where I've continued to do it. But besides all just career growth or business growth on that end, what I really love about it is when you walk into a team, let's say an accounting team, they're doing everything on Excel, which is super frustrating for anyone who's in Power Platform. And then you show them, oh, they could be doing their accounts on a model-driven app or a Canvas app, and how much time they could be saving with automation in the background and data visualization. And once you finish that project, and just hearing someone say, "Oh my days, the amount of time you saved us, and how much more I enjoy my job now," is so rewarding for me. And that's really the reason why I do it. Is just that interaction with people and being able to become like a superhero. Superman is out at the moment, so being that kind of hero, saving people from doing the boring and dull work that they don't want to do, and getting them to focus on their passions is really the driver for me, and why I love Power Platform so much.
Yeah. I want to, I guess, dive into the self-employment part a little bit. Like, I think that is super interesting and also scary.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you would maybe agree. I mean, I definitely I studied entrepreneurship at university, and I definitely could see myself being an entrepreneur one day. And so I love hearing people's opinions on being private or self-employed in this industry. Like, how do you manage that? And maybe more specifically, how do you manage like your client work and then also your self-development work, and
Yeah.
keeping up with the stuff that's going on? And I mean, how do you manage all of these things as someone who's self-employed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, so I've been doing this for 2 years, and I'm still on the road to success. I wouldn't say I'm on the road to success yet, but it's the hardest thing I think for me was initially was just learning that you're not selling Power Platform, you're selling the benefits of Power Platform. Because a lot of the times as a functional consultant, right, you walk in and you're talking to either clients or talking to your own manager. These guys are already aware of the benefits that it brings, so you're just talking features, 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 features. Whereas when you're self-employed, the game is completely different, because you have to talk to your clients and be like, benefits, benefits, benefits. If you use Power Automate, it's gonna give you this, and at the end of the day, that means you gain this. And that was really, really quite difficult to be able to kind of get that in my head, because we've all been there where someone says, "Oh, I want to build, I don't know, an app that does X, Y, Z." You're like, "Oh my days, okay, we could use AI to do this, we could use AI to do that." But the functional consultant in us, it doesn't really explain the benefits of doing all those things. You're just so excited about the solution because you know what's possible. So that was difficult initially. And to answer more of your question is, I really value just LinkedIn in terms of the keeping up with the technical side of it. There is so many people in the community, and I'm not going to name a few because I'll probably miss some of my favorites. Um, and there's so many people in the community who share, knowledge on podcasts such as this, and just on their LinkedIn to just say, "Hey, by the way, did you know this new feature's out?" And that's how I keep up with it. Just by being on YouTube and being active, seeing those blogs, and also seeing some of the Microsoft events. I feel every year there's always an event where Microsoft are announcing all the exciting stuff that's coming out, and why it's important and how it can move your business forward. And with just the great amount of examples that people have of saying, "Okay, this new feature's come out, this is how I've used it to kind of go forward," and it's just made it a lot easier. Again, it goes back to the community. I think without that, it would be so difficult for me to keep up with it and also try to run a business on the side. So everyone who posts, I thank them and keep doing it, because it honestly does make a massive difference to me personally, and I'm sure to you as well.
Yeah. How do you, okay, I want to, I guess, hammer in more on what you were talking about first, though, the main problem of casting that vision of selling the benefits.
Hmm.
You're totally right in that it can be so easy to want to just like jump to the solution,
Hmm.
just as somebody who, is on the delivery side. Like, how what are some of the tips and tricks that you've picked up to help you remember that? Like, what was that learning curve like over the last 2 years of transitioning from selling features to selling benefits, and maybe some pieces of advice that you would have for people to to help them also sell the benefits and cast that vision for people they're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, when you're in a sales environment, the school of thought is I need to talk the most, which is incorrect, and I need to show people that I am impressive because we all want to show our clients to be like, you're making the right choice, I am the right person. For me, the biggest turn that I've done, especially in the last 2 years, is I listen more now, because in that listening, you're allowing a client to speak exactly what their worries are. And most of the times, the worries that anybody has, it's less about their business, it's more about their personal life. So, as an example, you might meet someone who's like, "Oh, I spend 8 hours just doing this spreadsheet, and it doesn't allow me to focus on, my business. I'm having to miss birthday parties, or because I have to do this admin because I've got, government is on my back, etc." And it's just the ability for you to then say, okay, with everything that you've said, I've heard you, how, giving them a solution for them where you're listening to their problems. So in that example, I would say, those 8 hours that you're spending on spreadsheet, we'll cut those down to 10 minutes. We'll get automation to do all the hard work. And, you can then go on that holiday, be at that birthday party, knowing that your automation is taking care of everything in the background. And that's really the biggest shift is when you make your sales technique or the way that you communicate to people more about the people rather than the technology, so focusing on them and what they're worried about. And that's really how you win, because at the end of the day, I think an example that I was given when I was watching online videos about sales is when you go to a doctor, he doesn't just say, oh, I think you need, this drug and this surgery, etc. They really listen before diagnosing, and that's where people have to go. And this also applies to not even just running a business; it also applies to your career. You just have to do a lot of listening, and then after that, providing the solutions after. That's how you become the best consultant, by doing that. And unfortunately, I think in the industry, not a lot of people are doing that listening, and they're missing out on a massive trick.
Yeah, you're onto something here, in that I think about, car salesmen always get a bad rap, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to sales, like that's like the classic. Oh, I don't want to talk to you, whatever. Car salesman. Like I think about it though, like if I were to go shopping for a car, and they didn't ask me any questions, and they just started showing me sports cars as an example. But the
Yeah.
reality is I'm there because my fourth kid's on the way. I don't have any kids, but you know what I mean? Like fourth
Yeah.
kid's on the way. Like, dude, I'm shopping for a minivan. Like, what are we doing here? But you never asked me what I'm looking for, right?
Yeah.
And so then I'm not going to buy that sports car. I'm going to leave and go somewhere else. And so I think about that. Like, you really need to know, what does this person care about and what do they need? But then also, I even find too that the solution may not even change. Like the solution may still be Power Automate, but is the reason they want Power Automate so that they can, save money because their business isn't as profitable as they'd like? Or do they want to use Power Automate so that they can save time so that they can go on the holiday, right? Because like, yeah, at the same time, it is kind of the same. It's the same product. It's the same features. It's the same benefits.
Yeah.
But you're who is acquiring those things is different, right? And what they're looking for. And so I think it's really important just to remember that, because yeah, even that the solution might not change, how you are presenting that is is different based off of everybody's desires, right? Their own things. So
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
absolutely. And I also think, as a consultant myself, as it's a bit of an addiction. I want to know that I've done a good job on every project, and you want to know that the client is happy, or the team that you're working with is happy. Knowing the reasons why you're doing this in the first place, you can then have a reflection with the client and say, okay, we did this because we wanted to make sure that you went to a birthday party. How many birthday parties have you gone to since we've done this? And it really gives you the clear validation, and also in their minds it cements that Eldon is a very good consultant because he did exactly as what I want. It goes back to the car salesman that you mentioned. If you return home, to your wife and 4 kids, and you've got a sports car that only fits one person, and then you get shouting from your kids and your and your wife, about how you've completely misunderstood, you're not gonna go back to that salesperson and be like, I trust you as a guide for me going forward when you need something else, when you need a bigger truck, as an example. So that's what's at stake, I think, when it comes to why listing's an important skill. You know, your reputation's also at stake because you want to deliver something that somebody can then take up to the manager and take up to their business and say, you know what, this was exactly what we were after, and this is how we completed it, and that's how it was done. So yeah.
Yeah. How has networking played a role in you being independent and on your own? Like I something I am trying to practice is growing my network because I recognize the value that it has.
Yeah.
How has networking played a role in your career advancement within the tech industry?
You know what? It's networking is everything. People underestimate this. Networking is everything. It's literally everything. By If there's anything I can advise anyone who wants to move up in the career or in the business, I would say network is number one. You need people that advocate for you in rooms that you're not in, and that's the most important thing. And I can share my own career frustrations. You know, there was a lot of time where I was doing good work for clients and also internally as well for the businesses that I work with. But then it comes to the time where you're like, okay, I think I'm now ready for promotion. And because of my brand and my network wasn't good enough, people just end up turning you down. You know, they say the typical thing, and we've all heard this. They're like, you know, you have really wonderful work, but you're just not known enough within the business, and you know, you don't have enough key stakeholders that are communicating your value. So what you need in life and also in business, you need people that are communicating, just how valuable you are to the business and to the team. So one thing which I would advise to people is if you're working remotely, set up regular meetings with either your managers or people that you aspire to. I myself, when I was in my career, I had a wonderful mentor who was a director, which was 4 steps away from where I was in my career. And that was really quite helpful because he was able to tell me how the game works in that organization and tell me the right people that I need to talk to within my own team to say, well, have you spoken to this person? Because they could help you to move up the ladder. And what you find is when you have all these allies that are campaigning and waving your flag, doors just tend to open up for you. So if there's an opportunity for you to go to another country to do Power Platform training, they'll think, okay, Griffin first is why? Because I had a coffee with him last week. And as much as people don't want to admit that the world works this way, but it does. It's all about who you know. And even for yourself, you just want to have a list of contacts that you can contact when things go pear-shaped. And again, going back to people losing their jobs left, right, and center, you want to be able to say, well, I worked really well with that company 4 years ago. Let me just see if they have an opening. And what you find is when you have a good network and you've been putting that work in networking, they might just create a position for you because they liked you previously and they want you to come back. So it's really powerful. And for myself as well, a lot of the clients that I've got through my business, it's all been networking. It's all been somebody that I spoke with 2 years ago in another room. I made an impression, and then they've just remembered that, oh yeah, that's the automation guy that we need. We need someone to come in, and you want to be remembered. But also, I think with your networking, you really want to focus on that personal branding. So what is that thing that you want to be known for? Because at the end of the day, if I'm thinking, I don't know, I need a new logo. I need to be able to think about your name first to say, yeah, Griffin is, yeah, he's done an incredible logo. So I need to think of that person first. And that's what you got to focus on it. You got to be strategic. But one thing which I also say to people is even don't network with people just because of the job title. So, just don't network with someone just because they're a director. Even if someone's at the same level or level below you, they're still worth networking with because you don't know who they know and you don't know what doors that they can open. So just be kind and just be caring with everybody and take everyone with the same level of importance. Because I've seen some really bad networking where there's some people where you're at a work do and all they're doing is just focusing on the directors and the VPs and completely ignoring everybody else. I think people can see it. People can see the game that you're playing, and it looks bad as well. And you don't want to get to the top using that way. So just be flexible and be kind and talk to everyone, and just follow that format. And it's an absolute winner.
Yeah. I I agree once again. I will say just an encouragement to anybody. Every single Power Talks guest is a guest. Most of which I did not know before we recorded an episode. But I reach out to them by shooting them a message on LinkedIn. Like that is what I do. That is how I find guests. I find people that I think could bring insights, and I send them a message. And
Yeah.
hopefully nobody would be offended by this. I don't. I use the same message. I change out the name. I don't have the time to write out a paragraph message to every single person,
Yeah.
but it is also very personable. And then, but nonetheless, like it's just an encouragement to anybody. Like I've had, this is like episode 60 something. Over 50 of them involve guests, so over 50 people. I think I've had one person blatantly turn down the opportunity to connect. There have been a couple that's kind of fallen through, because calendars and whatever, but like I'm at like a 98.5%, success rate of reaching out to people and them being willing to give me 30 minutes or an hour of their time. And so like even if it's just to connect with people and not record it or contribute, online, but just to like sit down and talk to people, I'm finding is huge. And I did not have any ulterior motives. I definitely desire just having friendships and relationships, but I am finding as well that like, man, having people that at least have a positive, like think about me in a positive light because we sat down and had an hour-long conversation means the world. And
Yeah.
that I can reach back out to them and just be like, hey, can I have 30 minutes of your time? I got hit with this business requirement and I'm not really sure if this is the right solution here, and I know you got more experience with this. Like, can I get 30 minutes of your on your calendar? And after you've built that relationship, they're like, yeah, absolutely, let's go. And so it's just huge that I have personally found. So I could be a personal testament to that. Well, I don't know if you have anything to add there, but we are about at time. And so I wanna get to know Eldon a little bit more outside of work, some of your hobbies and passions.
Yeah.
In the after hours, happy hour segment of the show, you said you have a love for football, and Formula One. I mean, I'm an American football fan, so I don't know much about soccer, but I do think it's growing on me. It's very interesting to watch. Why are you so passionate about that and Formula One?
I think so to start with soccer to be appropriate, I guess, but football here in the UK, there's a massive fight that goes on, and I'm not. Yeah, the culture
Right?
is
Sure.
insane. I think for me, football was just a way for me to connect with my friends. Just being on the playground. You go to school. I think in the UK it's about 9 until 3, and then we have a break at 12. That was just a chance for me to play. To play with my friends and connect and have that teamwork and that camaraderie, So it's that's where the passion just grew from there, to be honest, just more playing it. And it's a game that I've loved for a very, very long time. Just the emotions that you can create. I've had moments of tears where you're crying, watching your favorite team on TV, and you're like, you've lost, a game that was quite close, and it feels so personal. It feels like a family member has just left and they're never coming back, sort of thing. So I
Who's your
love.
team? I gotta ask, who's your team?
So my team is Chelsea, Chelsea FC, in based in London. Even though I'm not based in London, which is terrible, really. So I love Chelsea. I love everything that they represent and seeing them win. So they were recently in America and they won a tournament, which is amazing. But football brings so much happiness, and it's also just an escape. It's just a moment for me to pause and think about something else that I want to do. And then Formula One is something that's quite new, actually, that's grown on me. So in the last probably 6, 7 years, I've grown to love Formula One. And one of the main reasons is because one of my friends happens to work for one of the teams. So it's been interesting to follow his journey and get into it. And the reason why I love Formula One again is, just I think similar to our careers is just, a group of people get together dedicated to this one driver, one person, and they build like this absolute rocket ship for them to win races and to do really well. And you see the teamwork behind it and how much effort everybody's having to put in terms of just trying to reach this one common goal. And I just love the drama in it. I think Formula One has really grown amongst fans, especially with Netflix documentary, with the movie that's obviously come out recently as well. And you can really see at the heart of it is the people behind those cars and behind those wins that you really start to fall in love with and fall behind. So yeah, absolutely love it. And I imagine for you with American football, it must be exactly the same.
It is. It is. It's funny. I love sports, but I am a very casual sports fan. So I don't know if I would consider myself a diehard fan of really any team. If people watch these, they'll see I'm wearing different sports teams from all over the country hats. Like I'm got an LA Lakers hat on right now. Like and I'm not from LA or anything. So it's just like I am a very casual sports fan. I would say if I were to commit to one team, I would say I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan. It's an American football team.
Yeah.
I grew up near in Indiana. But nonetheless, I keep that one under wraps because they haven't been very good for like 20 years. So, but nonetheless, no, I totally hear it. And then with that Formula One, it is so foreign to me. I do not know much about it, but it is definitely growing. But then, yeah, we were talking just before the new Formula One movie. If anyone's out there and hasn't seen the new Formula One movie with Brad Pitt, it's an incredible movie. It's a little long, but I was like hooked the entire time. It was worth all 2.5 hours of my time. So it was a good movie. So, well, sweet man. Thank you so much, Eldon, for being here. I say this every time, but it really means a ton that you gave me an hour of your time to connect. And if people were listening to this conversation and were positively impacted and wanted to get in contact with the automation guy in some way, shape, or form, what would be the best way to reach you?
So yeah, the best place to contact me is on my LinkedIn. Just yeah, send me a friend request, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions, whether that be about careers or whether that be about running a business, and the struggles that comes with that. More than happy to answer it because I'm a big believer in if I can help anybody, then I've done well. And I didn't get to the point where I am without the help of without by myself. Essentially, I got there by asking questions and just connecting with everyone within the community. So yeah, my door's always open if anybody has any questions.
Sweet man. I'll be sure to have a link to your LinkedIn down in the description down below so people can get in direct contact with you. So thanks again for being here, and thank you to you for sticking to the end of the video. My name is Griffin Lickfeld, the host of the Citizen Developer channel and Power Talks podcast, and I'm excited to connect with you in the next one.